Back to 1997 we go. This time we're going to my cousin's house. I'm sleeping over at his house, I'm 4 years old, Cartoon Network is still relatively unknown to me, and of course, VHS is still popular. We're just sitting by the TV, we've each picked a video to watch and enjoy, and of course, I'm needing my daily dose of Thomas and Friends, so I reach for the nearest one I see, and it's Trust Thomas and Other Stories, released in 1992, featuring 8 episodes from Season 3. As previously noted in Video Memories, Season 3 content doesn't normally do well for me, but in this case, I'll actually make an exception. I actually like this video. I'd actually consider it to be the best Season 3 video release. Even if that one copy of Escape hadn't been faulty, I'd still say Trust Thomas has better content. So let's have a look at this. Before we begin, I'd like to mention that this is not my cousin's original copy. I bought this one on eBay for this very review. I've never actually owned it before Video Memories. So if I've never owned it, why am I reviewing it? Well, like Escape, I do have some stories to tell. Only difference here is that this one doesn't involve a god-awful video store. So let's start at the beginning. Well, let's not. All we have at the beginning is basically Deja Vu, a massive promo for children's home videos, and that big fuck you satellite thing that morphs into the video collection logo. Actually, if that video promo does anything, it brings up the first story. So at this point, I'm living off these 4 videos at home. What do these 4 all have in common? Bingo! They're all narrated by Ringo Starr. And now some people are thinking, oh, here we go. I haven't made the joke in a while, so I figured one time couldn't hurt. I had already seen Children's Preschool compilation, but Trust Thomas was the first video offering more than one story narrated by Michael Angelis.
His name's Nigel. Dr. Nigel Botterill.
Ah, that cliche joke. Only took me 20 reviews to bring it up again. So speaking of more than one story featuring What's-His-Face, this video offers Henry's Forest, The Trouble with Mud, No Joke for James, Thomas Percy and the Post Train, Trust Thomas, Mavis, Toby's Tightrope, and Edward, Trevor and the Really Useful Party. Classic children's entertainment material, of course. So what is the best episode for me? Well, that's story number 2. After watching this one, the next time I'm visiting, I ask to watch it again. Of course, I forget the name of it, so I refer to it as the video with that awesome storm. Yep, I was referring to Henry's Forest. That was the episode that leapt out most to me. I found it to be the most memorable episode. That says a lot about the 4-year-old me, really. The best thing about this children's video for me is the scene where the main characters witness mass destruction and suffer extreme misery. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to watch that one. No idea why. So instead, I was stuck with this one. Apparently I had a habit of carrying around a video or two with me during sleepovers. So yeah, I considered Henry's Forest to be the best episode, and that was before I learned of how infamous the episode was. In 1995, a documentary known as The Thomas the Tank Engine Man was created to celebrate 50 years of the Railway series. At one point, the Reverend Wilbert Audrey expressed his great dislike for Henry's Forest, citing a lack of realism. Rule 55 and all that good shit. I was 4 years old at the time, I didn't care about that. It's 20 years later, and I'm not looking towards a locomotive engineering career, so I still don't care. I thoroughly enjoyed that episode, no doubt because of the strong sense of emotion. Or maybe it was the massive storm that trashed Sodor, I'm not sure. For all I know, maybe it was because it was the first episode to feature that Liverpudlian guy I love so much.
What's my name? I don't know about you, but I feel great.
Well, actually, I didn't mean Ringo, I meant... screw it. These days, is Henry's Forest still the best episode? No. I actually think my favourite episode from this video, maybe for the whole of Season 3 for that matter, is The Trouble with Mud. That episode is still really good. What's my reason for liking that episode the best? Get ready. It was because Gordon was a back engine for once. I know, it's weird, but you never see that. Gordon was one of my favourites in the old days. He still is. He's probably in my top 3 for Thomas and Friends characters. Name any episode in the classic series where he acts like a back engine for someone. Yeah, I thought as much. I acknowledge my weird opinion and I'm sticking to it. Actually, you want to know an even weirder opinion for this episode? Mike narrated Volume 3 of the Railway Stories on CD in 2008. That CD features the story Leaves, the railway series equivalent to The Trouble with Mud. Despite what people say about Mike's tenure as narrator in the hit entertainment years, I'd argue his narration of Leaves is actually better than his original take from '91. Oh yeah, I'm going there. Let's compare, just to see.
Clouds of smoke and steam towered from the snorting engines. We can do it, puffed James. We will do it, puffed Gordon. Clouds of smoke and steam towered from the snorting engines as they struggled up the hill. We can do it, puffed James. We will do it, puffed Gordon.
And as usual, I am right about Mike. I don't care if people think he was boring or too slow in his later years, he is still number one for me. Manfred Stefan and Leo Morimoto and George Carlin and Ringo Starr haven't got a prayer in this case. Mike is still my number one narrator and he always will be. Well, that went off track a bit. But in the end, I stand by it. Mike is still the tops, and despite my Season 3 bias, Trust Thomas is still a good release. So the first encounter was in 1997. Next time we're going... not that far ahead actually.
Mr. Cleary of Sutton Coldfield, your on-digital set-top box is here waiting. It's absolutely free while you subscribe. Just get down the shops or call on digital on 0808 100 0101 and they'll deliver it. This box will change the way you watch telly forever. It'll entertain you, make you laugh, make you cry. Well, it certainly will if you don't get one. So come on, Mr. Cleary. I couldn't bear to see a grown man weep.
Your free on-digital set-top box is waiting for you. To have it delivered, call 0808 100 0101 or get down to your electrical retailer now.
So for those not in the know, On Digital was a satellite terrestrial television service, the first of its kind, launched in the UK in 1998. To say that On Digital was a flawed service is a bit of an understatement, between weak signals, illegal pay-per-view subscriptions, outdated mechanics, signal piracy, horrific financial decisions, as well as strong competition from Sky Digital. Sky was basically offering everything On Digital didn't, at cheaper rates. On Digital was rebranded as ITV Digital in July 2001, which did not help alleviate problems in the slightest, and less than a year later, the service ended altogether. A sad ending to what, to me, was a decent TV service. That being said, I was less than 8 years old at the time, and I watched maybe 3 channels at most, so my opinion means fuck all in the end. But you know what? The service offered Cartoon Network, so I remained happy. I became even happier when our On Digital box was moved into my bedroom when my mother purchased Telewest, later known as Virgin Media. Think about that. I now had 24/7 Cartoon Network from my own bedroom. It wouldn't last that long, but oh my god, it was so good, especially for a very antisocial 7-year-old. When I think back to those early days of Cartoon Network, 2 points jump out at me. The first is Super Chunk. I've talked about this before. Every Sunday, a random cartoon ran for a 2-hour marathon. Johnny Bravo, Flintstones, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, what have you. I remember a Tom and Jerry marathon running at one point, and I really wish I had recorded it. I actually still have a Super Chunk marathon of Courage the Cowardly Dog from 2001. Oh, sure I have that, but I don't have Tom and Jerry. The other segment that sticks to my mind is the overnight programming. The mainstream content runs during the day, the popular shows. After midnight, we see rather obscure cartoons a 6-year-old like me ain't gonna know. I'm not gonna know them, but I want to watch anyway. I may have school the next day, but I'm gonna watch. School's overrated anyway. Off the top of my head, between 2 and 5 in the morning, there were 5 cartoons that ran during the night. There was Tabaluga, a weird German cartoon involving a green dragon and an evil snowman known as Arctos. The only thing I could say about this one is that Arctus's English voice actor was the original Diesel 10 in Thomas and the Magic Railroad.
Splodge! Get up here and destroy!
Yeah, that's certainly something. There was also The Tidings, a cartoon my mother absolutely hated because of the theme music.
We're the tidings, the 7 little wonders of the world. We're the tidings, friends of all the boys and girls.
There was Blinky Bill, a cartoon I absolutely hated because of the theme music.
This is the story of Blinky Bill and Flap and Nazi too, and Wombo, Ruff and Marcia and Splodge the kangaroo. Now they all lived in Green Patch Town as happy as can be, with friends and neighbours all around, the same as you and me.
Well, actually, the theme song is fine, it's somewhat catchy, but it's 2 minutes long, where most themes don't go beyond 30 seconds.
The morning came, the timber trucks moved on, and there where Green Patch used to be, the little town was gone.
Speaking of theme songs, there's Flying Rhino Junior High, a Recess clone with a horror element and one of the best theme songs in history. And then, there's the Magic Roundabout. Oh, you watch this show and you're not gonna forget that jingle. Ever. If you're British and you're over the age of 15, you may well know about the Magic Roundabout. You know about Dougal and Florence and Ermintrude and Brian the Snail and Dylan the Stoner Rabbit, and that bouncy one known as Zebedee. It's a classic French cartoon dating all the way back to 1963, eventually being somewhat remade in the UK in 1965. I use the term remade loosely because all Eric Thompson did was rewrite a script based purely on the visual content. All in all, 441 cartoons were produced from 65 to 77. This 5-minute cartoon was massive. At some point it was broadcast on Cartoon Network, go figure, and in 1997 this video was released, the new Magic Roundabout featuring 10 apparently new 5-minute episodes. Oh goody. So what specifically does this video offer? I don't know. Here's the problem. I have the video, I've had it for 20 years, I've seen the episodes, but I have no idea what they're called. They have no title cards, I know virtually nothing about the narrator, I have no idea when these episodes aired, the video box tells me nothing, Wikipedia tells me nothing, IMDb tells me nothing, Amazon tells me nothing, the Magic Roundabout website tells me nothing. I don't have a fucking clue what this video offers. By the time I try to comprehend what the episode is about, it's all over. These cartoons are incredibly short. They just fly by. You'll just zone out as Dougal whines about an alarm clock, and suddenly you look up and Florence is examining strange mushrooms. It's not a terrible cartoon at all, no. It still has a stop-motion charm, the plots can entertain, and the narration is pretty basic but works. I have to say it works because I grew up with Ringo Starr on a talking locomotive, so I have no right to say otherwise. I'd also say the 2005 movie was good. I've heard the American version bombed, but the British take is actually quite enjoyable. If you're a fan of classic cartoons, I'd say give Magic Roundabout a chance. It's still good and enjoyable. Just don't attempt to research anything. Wikipedia doesn't provide a detailed episode listing, and as far as I know, neither does any Magic Roundabout focused website out there. If you can't comprehend an episode, just forget it and wait a few minutes. It'll be over before you know it. Before we end this, let's talk about the bad side of the Magic Roundabout. As we've established, we have 5 obscure cartoons running on late night Cartoon Network. All is fine until around 2001 when Tabaluga disappeared from the lineup. And then the Tidings. And then Blinky Bill. And then Flying Rhino. Eventually all that was left was the Magic Roundabout. By 2002, Magic Roundabout was running for 3 straight hours. At 5 minutes each and no commercial breaks, that adds up to 12 episodes per hour, up to 36 episodes per night. Even if you love the Magic Roundabout, you're going to get sick of that really fast. 3 straight hours. I couldn't even watch Ed, Edd n Eddy for that length of time.
I'm a noodlehead and you're not!
Oh, who am I kidding? Of course I could. You know, now that I think about it, that bad side isn't really that bad when you compare it to what finally replaced the Magic Roundabout. Between Gadget Boy and Magic Roundabout wins 10 times out of 10. Gadget Boy is absolute garbage. In conclusion, Magic Roundabout is really good in short bursts. If you're watching for more than an hour, there's a good chance you'll get bored. In which case, this video works out. 51 minutes long sounds like the perfect length to me. As for that 3-hour nightly lineup, I'm sorry, I don't think that lineup holds up as well as that 2-hour period from 2005 to 2010. It's not even comparable. But you know, when it comes to Cartoon Network and Disney and such, I've talked a lot about children's programming, but there's one thing I've never touched on.
Oh, look at this. Look what they've done. It's beautiful.
Wow. So much space. Hi, guys. Are you working nights as well now, Mike?
Easier than that. We just switched mortgage to the Chelsea.
When you're a kid, TV can have a strong impact on you. If it's not a cartoon you love to death, TV ads and commercials will become embedded in your brain. It doesn't have to be anything aimed directly at kids, it just has to be memorable. It could be anything. It could be something regarding mortgages, it could be an ice cream jingle.
Just one cornetto! Give it to me!
It could be the latest offerings at a fast food joint.
Lurking in every Happy Meal is a Lego monster.
It could be an ad for an internet service.
In fact, Blue Yonder's so fast, you could get carried away. Call 0800 953 0882 to get online with Blue Yonder from Telewest Broadband.
It could be special deals for that big Millennium Party you're throwing.
Say goodbye to $19.99 from $1.99 at Sainsbury's, making life taste better.
Or it could be, what the hell is this?
I want some crusher, a little crusher. Milk keeps me fit and tastes so great.
When you're young, you have a mind like a sponge, and you just absorb anything you hear or see, no matter how irrelevant it might seem. Let me point out one really good example for the musician in me. There's a banking company called Smile, an online division of the Cooperative Bank. Smile was launched in 1999 as the UK's first online banking service. We're going back far on this one. For those who weren't around in 99, the internet was pretty goddamn basic in those days. To promote this new service, several commercials were created for British TV using a song from a small Glaswegian indie rock band known as the Supernaturals. Why am I telling you this? Well, I saw the ads in 1999 and, well...
You better smile!
The chorus of that song was burned into my brain at a very early age. It could very well be my first earworm. The downside to having a spongy brain at a young age, you have no control over what it absorbs. You will no doubt understand very little about what you absorb, especially if it involves finance, and if you add an earworm to the mix, you're only gaining additional problems. Normally with an earworm, the best way to rid your mind of an overly catchy song is to distract yourself with whatever's around you, and just hope to hell it works. Not with this song. It lodged itself in my brain, and every few months I'd hear it again. It was a mental nightmare. The song was burned into me, and I had no way of knowing what the name of the song was or how to remove it from my head. 10 years after this all started, I finally had a bright idea. Google the lyrics I'm able to recall, and maybe I could find out once and for all what this goddamn song was called. And what do you know? There it was.
See the air, lines around my eyes. See the air, sarcasm in my smile.
Hallelujah, the mystery's solved. Now get the fuck out of my head. That was one of the biggest and most annoying mysteries of my life. And now I have it in my music collection. Go figure. Now of course, this is video memories, so I need to talk about a video or a DVD. Something that relates to a child's spongy brain. Next story. Around 2000/2001, my mother hauled me to this shopping centre on the other side of town. Why? I don't know. Adult stuff. I had no say in the matter. Fortunately for us both, there happened to be a daycare centre on site. She leaves me there for about an hour and goes and does her thing, and I was left to my thing. To my great surprise, and no doubt joy, this daycare centre had a small video section, and go figure, there's a Thomas and Friends video. I asked to watch it, and from there I was set for the next hour or so. Which home release did I watch? That was the mystery at the time. Remember how I mentioned the downside of a spongy brain? Well, there were a few snags. I didn't remember the video cover, the video title, or what the video contained. Apart from one thing.
That night, Gordon slunk into the shed. He was glad it was empty.
That was all I took home from that video. Whistles and Sneezes was on it. Well, that's good. Thanks to the Thomas and Friends wiki, that narrows it down to only 20 videos in the entire series! But wait a minute. It was in English, so that cuts it down to 12. And it featured Ringo Starr, so that's down to 10. And of course, in order to stretch this bit out even longer, I should cut it down to just the videos released in the UK. That leaves 7. Wait, Whistles and Sneezes was near the beginning of the video. That conveniently cuts it down to just 2. And of course, I already have this one, and I'd remember if it were down the mine. So it must be Thomas's Train and 17 Other Stories from 1995. 17 episodes, it's around the same time. Thomas's Train is the first episode, Whistles and Sneezes is the third. Yep, this was it. I don't own the video, and I've only seen it once or twice in the past 20 years, so I'm probably not the guy to go to for a decent review, so I'll make it quick. 17 episodes from seasons 1 through 4 featuring those two Liverpudlian narrators, guaranteed to cover you for 100 minutes. It's basically another version of Chases, Races and Runaways, only with a much less awesome looking cover and a stronger emphasis on the 3rd and 4th seasons. In other words, more of this guy. Did I like it? Well, duh, I was 6 years old, I needed to kill time for an hour. I found this, they let me watch it, the rest is painfully obvious history. I don't own the video, so I can't go too much in depth. This isn't as much a review of a video cassette as it is a recap of how easily a child's brain can be warped by the wonders of television. Believe me, there's actually weirder shit that's been burned into my brain. As much as I like to talk about it right now, I have to go watch a race. You know, looking at this video reminds me of something. It's June 15th, 2012. It's 4:30 in the morning. I'm due to go on a day trip to Blackpool, nearly 200 miles away. I am also severely hungover and my head is thumping. Today is gonna suck. You know what the best bit of the day was? Watching Dastardly and Muttley and their flying machines.
Will they finally stop that perilous pigeon? Find out in Dastardly and Muttley, up next on Boomerang.
True story, I was drinking the previous night, I had a hangover from hell, and I was scheduled to take a 6 AM trip to Blackpool. It was not a fun trip, let's just leave it at that. I did have a good time with the love of my life, but honestly, the least painful bit of the day was watching cartoons in the dark before leaving in the morning. Now why am I telling you this? Because I feel like it. Call it a public service if you want. It's the dangers of drinking, kids. You do not want to take a 6-hour coach ride with some noisy young adults when you have a hangover. Does this story relate to a video I own? Sorta. We're not looking at Dastardly and Muttley and their flying machines per se, we're looking at the precursor to that series, Wacky Races. Right at the absolute bottom of the video pile we have Wacky Races Volume 1 released in March 2000. I'm guessing there's a Volume 2 out there somewhere. Apparently when I bought this video it was less than a $5. Good deal I guess, cheap value for an annoying little kid, it should keep him happy. Before I can talk about the video I need to talk about my history with racing. Let it be known that I fucking love races. It doesn't even need to be a serious race, like a marathon or something. As long as there is at least 2 people racing for a prize, no matter how insignificant it may be, I'm good to go. It could be a group of people racing lawnmowers in Grand Theft Auto and I'd be happy. In fact, the less serious the race, the more intrigued I am. It started with Thomas and Friends and the Season 1 episode, Thomas and Bertie, arguably one of the best episodes in Season 1. That was my first exposure to the idea of a race, even though there's nothing at stake.
Well done, Thomas, said Bertie. That was fun. But to beat you over that hill, I should have to grow wings and be an aeroplane.
Then we have the Looney Tunes Special Bumper Collection and the Wild Chase, where Speedy Gonzales and the Roadrunner race for... I have no idea. The Dukes of Hazzard. The movie kinda sucks, but the greatest bit of this movie has to be the Hazzard Road Rally, where Bo Duke enters the race pursued by half the police force of Hazzard County. And then there's my second favourite movie franchise, Fast and Furious. Every single movie in that series has at least one race. It wouldn't be a Fast and Furious movie without it. To pick just one, let's take Fast 5. That movie still puts a smile on my face.
I got 100,000 says I can take you all in the next quarter mile.
Yeah, your broke ass has got 100 grand.
We pull off this job, I will. The next 2 lights, 100,000.
We don't pull this job off, we're probably dead anyway. Let's make it $1 million.
I like that. All right, $1 million quarter mile.
I still love that movie. But of course, when I was a kid, those last two mean nothing to me. All I have is Thomas and Bertie and The Wild Chase. There's probably more out there, the amount of cartoons I watched, but those two leap out the most. When you think about how much I watched Cartoon Network in those days, it could not have taken much for Wacky Races to win me over. This show is fantastic. It combines racing and comedy and does it perfectly. If anything, it's a shame Wacky Races ended so soon. They only made 17 episodes, each with 2 races equaling 34 episode segments. Sure, there's the reboot, it's an okay show, nothing terrible, but it doesn't hold a candle to the original. Bearing in mind there's only 17 episodes, how many does this video have? Well, after 10 minutes of promos for Pokemon, the Iron Giant and Cartoon Network, there's 95 minutes worth of cartoons here, resulting in 10 races. Wyoming, the Dipsy Doodle Desert Derby, the Speedy Arkansas Traveller, Freewheeling to Wheeling, Dash to Delaware, Real Gone Ape, the Super Silly Swamp Spirit, Wacky Race to Ripshaw, real original title there, Whizzing to Washington, and Traffic Jambalaya. 10 races out of 34. That's just under a third of the series. At 95 minutes, that's a decent chunk. There's not much I can say really, the same racers race from A to B in 10 minutes. The only things that change are the race locations and cheating methods the racers utilise to succeed in their desire to win. You know, despite the racers cheating in every race, no one is ever disqualified for cheating other than Dick Dastardly. In one race, not on this video, Dastardly actually wins the race, but is disqualified by stretching the front of his car across the finish line. It's absolute bollocks really. If you look at the finish line in normal speed, Dastardly has a legit win. I know Dastardly is a serious cheater most of the time, but he got screwed in that race. That being said, this is the first time I've watched the video in close to 10 years, and it has aged not too bad as a series. I don't normally regard 60s cartoons that highly, other than Scooby-Doo, but Wacky Races seems to do quite well. It's not truly amazing, it's still entertaining, but it's not going to win any awards from me. Dick Dastardly is easily the best character in the series and saves the show as far as I'm concerned. If he wasn't there, I probably wouldn't care that much for it. Honestly, he gets all the good lines in the series. One part that still gives me a good chuckle is in Wacky Race to Ripshaw. It has probably his best quote in the entire series.
Now, what are you gonna do, Dastardly? Cheat? What else? Yeah, watch! Now I'm back in first place. Cheaters always win. Sometimes, that is.
In the long haul, I probably hold Wacky Races to the same level as Dastardly and Muttley and their flying machines. If it's on TV, sure, I'm happy to indulge, but it's not a must for me. 90s cartoons still hold up better in my eyes. Wacky Races, not amazing, but not a bust. Still a classic. For less than £5, it does the job perfectly fine. Whew, it's getting cold out there. If it's snowing, you better be careful. You don't want any seasonal scrapes. Huh? Huh? Yeah, that's all I got for today. I suck, I know. Let's just look at seasonal scrapes from 2001. 17 episodes from seasons 1 through 4 with 3 music videos to boot, with a running time of 104 minutes. 104 minutes? Excuse me a minute. Okay, so after discounting the complete season releases, Seasonal Scrapes is the second longest Thomas & Friends release I own, only behind Biggest Party Video Ever. A long time ago, I praised Chases, Races and Runaways for having enough content on one video to last a child for nearly 2 hours. On the other hand, I went against Biggest Party Video Ever for its episodic organisation as well as being incredibly boring for the first half hour or so. This video is quite literally caught in between them. It's longer than Chases, one of the best videos I own, but it's shorter than Biggest, one of the worst videos I own. So how does Seasonal Scrapes rank? Well, it all depends on my memories of the video. There's just one problem. I don't really have any memories of this video. Yeah, I don't remember ever watching this. I remember watching pieces of crap like Chad Valley Video and children's cartoon favourites, but not a thing for this. I'm sure I did watch it a few times in the past 17 years, but I got nothing. Okay, we're going to have to break with Video Memories traditions. We're going to have to go in blind on this one. Right, 17 episodes, 3 music videos, 104 minutes. Beyond the VCI logo, we have Rusty to the Rescue, Woolly Bear, Bulgy, You Can't Win, Percy's Promise, Henry's Forest, Toby and the Flood, Stepney Gets Lost, The Trouble with Mud, Thomas Turns on the Snow, Snow, The Flying Kipper, A Scarf for Percy, Special Funnel, Thomas's Christmas Party, Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree, and Thomas and Percy's Christmas Adventure. Jesus. And as for the music videos, we have It's Great to Be an Engine, Percy's Seaside Holiday, and The Snow Song. Okay, so why is it called Seasonal Scrapes? Chases, Races and Runaways I get. Most episodes featured either a chase, a race, or a runaway. What does Seasonal Scrapes have to do with all this?
In springtime, Rusty loves to visit a faraway place.
In summer, the gangers cut the long grass on the line side. Autumn had come to the island of Sodor. The fields were changing from yellow stubble to brown earth. One winter evening, Henry's driver said, "We'll be out early tomorrow. We've got to take the Flying Kipper."
Oh, so it's quite literally about the 4 seasons. That's original and slightly random. So that's 1 episode for spring, 4 episodes for summer, I'm guessing 4, maybe 4.5 episodes for autumn, and at least 7 episodes for winter, cause the series loves episodes involving winter. And I suppose Percy's Seaside Holiday could be summer related and the Snow Song can be for winter. It's Great to Be an Engine, however, I don't really see what that's got to do with the 4 seasons. And Henry's Forest and Stepney Gets Lost don't really seem seasonal. Yeah, truth be told, I think the whole seasonal thing is a bit of a stretch. In most of the non-winter episodes, the season gets mentioned once and never again. Honestly, most of the episodes are more weather related than overall seasonal. Henry's Forest is that massive storm that destroys the forest. Toby and the Flood has a massive amount of rain, causing the river to rise and break the bridge. Stepney Gets Lost has the fog that causes Stepney to end up in the scrapyards. The Trouble with Mud has a lot of damp, dead leaves, certainly a lot closer to a season than the previous 3. If it's not weather related, there's just a few episodes that take place during a holiday, in this case, Bulgy and You Can't Win. Nothing specific, it's just a special holiday, or there's a group of sightseers travelling on the narrow gauge railway. That about covers every episode on the release. This is more holiday and weather scrapes than seasonal scrapes. I mean, geez, even the winter episodes mostly involve weather-related accidents. Thomas gets stuck in the snow twice, snow diverts Henry into the path of a freight train, Peter Sam loses his funnel due to a low-hanging icicle, Percy gets covered in jam, well actually that last one was his fault, so disregard. The way I see it, the whole seasonal thing doesn't 100% work. It's mostly just weather-related like wind and rain. If it's not weather, it's just a normal holiday episode, and if it's not that, it's just going to be an incredibly basic episode like Rusty to the Rescue where the season reference is tacked on at the beginning. And you know, despite all of that, I don't think this video is all that bad. It's certainly not as bad as Biggest Party Video or Chad Valley. My gripes are pretty minor and I still think kids can enjoy this. I think it's okay purely because I'm 25 years old and this is a video for kids. If VHS was still a thing, I could see kids enjoying this. Hell, they'd probably enjoy Biggest Party Video. They care less than I do. This is a great thing about kids. They're happy to enjoy Thompson Friends, and the way I see it, that makes the whole thing a success. That's the great thing about preschool kids. They won't throw a shit fit over a little change. Oh, I just had to go there. No regrets in the slightest. But in all seriousness, I may go against Bugs Bunny's Easter Funnies or Bug Alert or Biggest Party Video, but that's me as a 25-year-old. I could see kids enjoying all these videos, every single one of them. As a kid in the 90s, you have a choice to make. Watch TV, watching a video, playing a primitive game console, or doing this thing called playing outside. TV can only get you so far. Cartoon Network and Disney were still in their infancies. Dig It is only on at the weekends. God knows I ain't going to remember BBC knowledge. If you're going to play a video game, the only game you want to play is Sonic 2, but you keep dying to that first boss. Fortunately, Pokemon Stadium is on the way with the Nintendo 64, but that's probably a year or two away. As for playing outside, suppose it's pissing down with rain. You're left with only one option. With VHS, presentation and details mean nothing to a child. As long as the core content entertains you, the video becomes a winner. If it's a long video like Chases, Races and Runaways, or a Disney movie like Lion King, that's also a winner. If it's a long video and it entertains at the same time, you've hit the jackpot. The kids will be entertained for years to come. That's what my video collection is, a collection of mostly winners from my childhood. VHS may be a dead technology at this point, but I'm still proud to own these relics, and that includes seasonal scrapes. I may not remember much, but I'm still glad I own it. Honestly, I could just end it all here. I've praised my video collection and I've talked about how much videos meant to kids of the 1980s and 90s. That's what this whole series has been about, my childhood in VHS form. Plus, if I end now, I end on a Thompson Friends video where this all started. But you know, at the same time, I can't stop now. There's still one video that's been haunting me since the beginning. "130 videocassettes, all collected over 23 years. And this isn't all of them, I'm still missing a few, but it's still a hell of a collection for me, and it all started with Singing Kettle Pirates. In case I haven't made it clear at this point, this is the very first home videotape I ever owned in my entire life. Before there was Troublesome Trucks, or Bad Day at Cat Rock, or Down the Mine, or Birthday Cartoon Collection, there was Singing Kettle Pirates. Why didn't I cover this one first? Why didn't I start Video Memories with this video? Well, the answer is simple. I wanted to do this one first. I felt like I had more of a history with this one, and then ideas just started to flow from that video. And plus, what is there to say about a Singing Kettle stage show in my collection? Scylla and Artie run around a stage with these oversized props and sing songs based on what resides inside said oversized props. And yet, after all this time, I can't leave it out. Video Memories is all about telling stories from my youth. This is the first video I ever owned, and it's a damn good video. It has to be shown. So fuck it! Polygram video, 20 years later, and I still love that logo. Freaked the hell out of me as a kid with those sound effects, but cool as hell once the internet rolled around. There's a promo for Singing Kettle World Tour. Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Pirates was released in July 1995, World Tour in September 94, barely 9 months prior. Of course they're going to promote that. And here we go. Oh no, 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 no! Well, it's not only the first video I ever owned, but it's also one of the few videos that actually crashes my VCR. I rewind this video after that massive glitch and the VCR actually shuts down. The video has aged horrifically if it isn't painfully obvious. I haven't checked my entire collection, so as far as I know, that has only happened with 2 videos. This one, and this video from Recordable Fridays. And that one was eventually repaired, so Pirates is a rare species in my collection. A video that my VCR hates. So unfortunately, I can't review this one. But I can review this one. This is a re-released version from a later period. The only real difference is the inside of the video box. It shows Busy Busy Roadshow and Best Loved Sing-Along songs. So I suspect this one is from late 1999, maybe early 2000. Thankfully, this one actually works. Okay, let's try that again.
What's inside the singing?
There we go. And live from the King's Theatre in Glasgow, we have Singing Kettle Pirates, and one of the best opening songs the group has ever played. And why are Scylla, Artie and Gary playing pirates? Well, maybe it'll help to know the plot.
The real pirates stole our singing kettles.
Yeah, that's the plot. Pirates have stolen their singing kettles and Scylla, Artie and Gary are out to recover them. The outfits help them blend in. Just go with it. Right, first question. Why on earth would you want... Okay, that one makes sense. That one's loaded with jewels. And okay, that one looks like a cat. Very unique looking, could probably fetch a decent amount on eBay. Okay, in defense of the pirates, the kettles are all pirate themed. Maybe they thought it was their property and they had every right to help themselves. Yeah. So thanks to a conveniently oversized treasure map, the trio have to travel to Devil's Island, which may or may not be the location of the stolen singing kettles. Then again, what kind of idiotic pirates would bury 5 apparently valuable singing kettles in the same area of land? Yeah, it's a dumb plot, guys, but it's a plot for 3-year-olds. They won't care. It'll stimulate their imagination and they'll go with it. I was 3 years old once and I bought it all. I went with the plot and enjoyed the show. So it's a typical singing kettle show from there. They spend an hour on the island searching for those singing kettles and singing songs, quite often related to the sea or indeed pirates. Ranging from My Father Went to Sea and Over the Irish Sea, to Drunken Sailor and Rubber Blubber Whale, the best song on the show and one of my all-time childhood favourites. If the songs don't relate to anything ocean or pirate related, the clues most certainly will. It's a bone and yet it relates to a nonsense song because the first verse relates to dogs. Let's go with that. Or in the case of Willie and Maw, it's just a song about opposites. And yes, it's a pirate's island, but they do have an excuse for Willie and Maw being there. They're on holiday. Yeah, they're on holiday on a pirate island. Makes absolute perfect sense. And hey, they even have time to mess with what looks like a perfectly functional cannon. Never mind the danger of playing with cannonballs or the fact that the pirates could be back any minute. Let's try the cannon out. Look, if you get past the really thin plot, I still maintain that this is one of the best singing kettle releases out there. The songs really do carry the show, and for a 25-year-old, they carry it really well. Although you know what really gets the kids' minds going? When this music goes, and they have to check for pirates. A few times during the show, this happens, and with every inspection, the ship gets closer, until...
Ladies and gentlemen, the pirates have landed.
The pirates have returned. Any normal trespassers would grab their property and run like hell. But nope, They have time for a curtain call for each cast member, another round of the show's theme song, and a bloody Scottish jig. Had they just run for it, this wouldn't have happened.
Oh! Lead it back at time. Come back here with those kettles. Come back, you thieving landlubbers. No. Come back, you blackguards. Come back.
And with that, the trio hightail it with the singing kettles, and the totally real pirate advances on the audience, preparing to murder and pillage them all. Behind them, the trio return and finish the pirate and the show with a motherfucking bang! I still love that ending. Even to this day, I still love that ending. It may be a show for kids, but that has to be the best closer to any stage show I have ever seen. Even when I realise how awful the plot is, I can't hate this release, not in the slightest. I can dislike the first few home videos. I can have mixed feelings towards World Tour and Christmas Crackers, but Pirates is a special case. For one thing, it still has some of the best music the Singing Kettle has ever put out. And like I said, it was the beginning for me. That massive collection over there, this is where it all began, with Singing Kettle Pirates. And honestly, I can't think of a better starting point.
Those were the days, my friend, we thought they'd never end. We'd sing and dance forever and a day.
Yo.
We'd live the life we choose, we'd fight and never lose, for we were young and sure to have our way.
So where do we go from here? We've come full circle. We've talked about the first video I ever owned, as well as the second and probably third, fourth and fifth when I think about it. We've covered some good times, some bad times. We've told some Disney stories, some Cartoon Network stories, and some Michelangelo stories.
His name's not...
No! Shut up! So what do we do? I was brought up with a love for cats. My mother could easily be the crazy cat lady from The Simpsons. In that case, it makes almost too much sense that my first Disney movie was The Aristocats from 1970. Honestly, I'm surprised I never got sick of this movie. I had at least 3 copies between Edinburgh and Fife. But here we are. I haven't seen the movie in a decade, so why not cover it for video memories? In this case, we'll be using my original version from 1995, which isn't really saying much because all 3 of them were from 95. Okay, here we go. Hopefully the video makes it. It hasn't exactly aged all that well. It's like looking at Singing Kettle Pirates, except this one doesn't kill my VCR.
We want you to enjoy this video as much as possible.
And we start with the first piracy warning I ever saw. A piracy warning that doesn't sound that serious. It feels like a very kid-friendly warning. I mean, it's a well-known fact that 5-year-olds are often seen buying pirated videos and DVDs, so you may as well have a very considerate warning for them.
To make sure you're watching the genuine product.
Next we have a promo for the upcoming Pocahontas. Now I love how much this info-filled trailer tells us about the movie.
In 1995, around the world, Walt Disney Pictures presents an all-new animated entertainment event and brings a legend to life.
My name is Pocahontas.
Wow, that tells us so much compared to Lion King and Around the World with Timon and Pumbaa. Now I get it, the movie was still in early development, but I've never been keen on trailers that tell you virtually nothing. It's like movies that set up sequels that never get made. Hey, another promo for Pinocchio, practically the same promo we saw on Lion King. The only real difference is that on Aristocats it's coming to video as opposed to Lion King where it's already available on video. Apparently the Aristocats was released at the end of March 1995, Pinocchio in May, just under 2 months later, and The Lion King in September 95. 23 years and I never thought to check that out. Oh, speaking of which, our promo for Lion King. This ad is a massive lie in places. 2 clips are actually of Mufasa, not Simba. This movie sucks! I mean, yeah, I own 2 copies plus the sequels on DVD, and I've praised it in places, but that trailer still lied to me. Winnie the Pooh Playtime Videos. I'm not gonna lie, I actually owned at least 2 of these in Lochgelly. Pooh Party was definitely one of them, and I can't remember the other one. I never watched it, I only ever watched Pooh Party, not a clue why.
There's a magical place in the heart of Europe where the stars of Disney animated film classics become your friends.
Yeah, there is. I'll talk about it later.
Stay tuned for news of great future releases from Disney Videos after this feature.
Well, the next thing I want to cover is from 1997, so hey, it's an accurate prediction. And now we begin. Christ, after hearing it for the first time in a decade, I'm really not sure how I feel about that opening song. Paris, 1910. Duchess and her 3 kittens, Marie, Berlioz and Toulouse, live a happy life with retired opera singer Madame Adelaide Bonfamille and the butler Edgar. One day, Adelaide is preparing her will with her lawyer, close friend and obvious love interest, Georges Hautecourt. She dictates that upon her death, her fortune is to be left to her cats, and thereafter to Edgar. I fucking love that, even after 24 years. So Adelaide is leaving her vast fortune to her 4 cats, who are to be cared for by Edgar, who then plots to dispose of the cats, leaving him to inherit the fortune. Okay, I don't really see why that's necessary. Surely upon her death he could just help himself to the fortune and claim it's all for the benefit of the felines. Duchess sure as shit isn't going to complain, and honestly, Georges looks like he's on his deathbed. If he started asking questions, all Edgar would have to do is push him down the stairs. Cats aren't exactly going to use a fortune anyway. Wait until the boss and the lawyer die, and then dispose of the cats. But of course, it's a Disney movie, so that can't happen. After an iconic musical number, Edgar sedates the cats with milk laced with sleeping pills, and abandons the cats in the countryside. After his departure, as Adelaide discovers their absence, the cats ponder their predicament, with Toulouse actually coming to the conclusion that Edgar was behind their abandonment. Damn, that cat's sharp. The next day, Duchess meets Thomas O'Malley, the alley cat. He immediately takes a liking to the kids, and more than a liking to Duchess, and offers to help them reach home. From here, the movie takes a leaf out of The Incredible Journey and becomes a road movie, as Duchess and the kittens make the massive trek back to Paris, encountering such faces as Twin Geese, Abigail and Amelia Gabble, Adelaide's horse Frou-Frou, Roquefort, the mouse friend of the kittens, and Scat Cat and his ever so slightly racist group of musical alley cats. At the same time as Edgar attempts to cover his tracks by recovering any evidence left behind of his recent activities whilst avoiding his worst nightmares, Napoleon the Bloodhound and his companion Lafayette the Basset Hound. So how well has the Aristocats aged? In my eyes, remarkably well. Despite that plot hole involving Edgar disposing of the cats, the moderate racism with Scat Cat's gang, the soundtrack not being super great, and the video glitching out really badly in one particular scene, I quite enjoyed revisiting this video. I actually had a massive smile on my face straight from the opening scene. The characters are great and incredibly likeable, and the plot is touching and engaging, even if you've seen the movie a zillion times already. Beforehand, I would have rated this movie as just okay and probably average in this day and age. At this point, however, I'd argue that this is the best Disney movie of the 70s and 80s combined, and it's easily the best movie until Aladdin was released in 1992, 22 years later. This movie was great in 1995 and is still great in 2019.
Oh yeah!
But you know what isn't great? Those post-movie ending promos. I've already voiced off on my dislike for these things, but the Aristocats has probably the worst set of closing promos in my entire collection. There's more Winnie the Pooh videos, of course, hangovers, some sing-along releases for those who can't be bothered simply watching The Lion King or 101 Dalmatians, and a promo for classic movies like Mary Poppins, Dumbo, Robin Hood and Alice in Wonderland. And believe it or not, I have a story for this section. I actually own Alice in Wonderland on video, but this doesn't actually belong to me. A friend of mine lived up the road from me from about 15 years ago, and she offered me her copy of Alice as I had never seen the movie before and was rather curious. In return, I let her borrow one of my videos. And of all videos, it had to be this one. Even after reviewing it, I still can't escape it. Unfortunately, this friend of mine moved away to Australia in, I want to say 2006, and I never actually returned her copy, and it's been with me ever since. And no, I don't plan on reviewing the video because honestly, I don't like Alice in Wonderland at this point. I don't even like the recent live action movies. They've never appealed to me. So that's Aristocats, a really good start to 2019. But I don't think we're done with it yet. There's another Disney video I'd like to cover, and it somewhat involves the Aristocats. You pop in a Disney video and you see a number of things. Piracy warnings, awesome looking logos, promos for soon to be released movies, VHS or otherwise, and quite often a promo for a Disney theme park. The Aristocats, there's an ad for Disneyland Paris. Emperor's New Groove, Walt Disney World in Florida. Jungle Book, Euro Disney. Lion King, there's an ad for Space Mountain. Lion King 2, Disney's Animal Kingdom, also in Florida. These ads were everywhere. They promoted the hell out of these theme parks, and they blew my mind away. Even to this day, when I look at the Jungle Book, I still feel a sense of nostalgia when I see the luggage porter just throw open the doors to reveal the Cinderella castle in the distance. I mean, sure, the castle isn't that close to a hotel, but the kid in me bought it.
Someone you know can't wait to go.
And my god, it was true. At some point, my family members were planning a trip to the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. This was back in 1997, so we couldn't just go on the internet to see what America offered us. If you were planning a holiday to a new destination in those old days, you'd have to visit the local travel agent for information. Or if you were planning a trip to a Disney theme park, you could order a holiday planner on VHS. These things were incredibly common. Every year since I think 1993, to promote new attractions, they crank out new promotional videos for both American and British audiences, available at local Disney stores and travel agents. Now, for the 4-year-old me, there was only one thing that confirmed a planned trip to Florida. This thing. What I have here is a holiday planner from 1997. See, you thought my brain latched onto some weird shit before. This was long before Smile Bank. My mother ordered this over 20 years ago to plan a holiday that I'm pretty sure never happened. How do I know it never happened? Because she also had the 1998 planner as well, featuring Mickey Mouse at the beach. Even though a trip to Florida never happened, I never forgot that promotional video from 1997. Try as I might, it stuck with me. And to this day, I'm not sure why. Surely a video like this is no doubt worthless these days. This 97 promotional video, produced by Unijet, features Mike Smith as he takes us on a 23-minute tour of the entire Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, covering 3 theme parks and their features, Magic Kingdom, Epcot and Disney MGM Studios, as well as 2 water parks, Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach. He also covers many available hotels around the resort, including the Contemporary Resort and the Polynesian Village Resort, and what each hotel offers when you're not immersed in the Disney experience. Also, if they exist, pick up those fucking hopper passes. They'll grant you unlimited access to the theme parks and water parks for 5 full days. He only mentions them about 12,000 times. Right, now there are 3 questions that beg to be answered. Number 1, who is Mike Smith? Well, as far as I know, he was an English television and radio presenter who died in 2014 after major heart surgery. I know virtually nothing about the guy, and I've never seen anything he's ever done other than this video. Number 2, who or what is Unijet? Well, apparently that's the name of a defunct holiday tour operator in the UK that owned Leisure International Airways. If that means nothing to you, not to worry. Unijet and LIA were sold to First Choice in 1999, which in turn was merged with Thomson Fly in 2008 to form Thomson Airways, the 3rd largest airline in the UK. Can't get more clearer than that. At this point, I should mention that this isn't my mother's old copy. I actually had to search on eBay for this. I've been wanting to talk about this video for months, and only recently did I decide to cover it. Which brings us to number 3. Why the hell would a 23-minute promotional video featuring a long-defunct airline and a dead presenter I have virtually no knowledge of even appeal to me in this day and age? I have no idea. It's like asking why certain TV commercials stuck with me like Smailbank or a Lego ad from 1999. I don't even like Lego! The best answer I could give is because it was my childhood. You watch something when you're younger in the 80s or 90s, and 20 to 30 years later, you have nothing but fond, nostalgic memories for them. It could very well explain why I still have fond memories of singing Kettle Pirates, or Chases, Races and Runaways, or even those recorded videos of Cartoon Network. It just proves how easily satisfied a child's brain can be. The cartoons and fun characters and even stage shows and such will always amuse the children, but there's always going to be those very obscure things that take hold of a child. Smailbank, Lego Monsters, even those opening promos from a Disney video cassette. DVDs and Blu-rays are still very prominent and successful in their own right, but VHS will always have a charm that will never be matched. And when you think about it, this holiday planner actually did its job. It was created back in 1997 to amaze and intrigue potential holiday goers. 22 years later, here I am talking about it. Even in the year 2019, these things are a really great watch, no matter how outdated they may seem. And even better, I did actually make it to a Disney theme park. It was Disneyland Paris in 2002, but close enough. Truth be told, I wasn't too thrilled. I just hate travelling. I always have. I wasn't too interested in meeting Mickey Mouse. Two things happened. A family member fell and cracked their skull, and my cousin was super excited to ride Space Mountain, only to find it out of order due to a technical malfunction. I didn't have a good time, but don't take my word for it. If you love Disney, and you enjoy travelling, go and check out one of these theme parks. You could very well have the time of your life. Pick up a planner if you have to. In the meantime, let's get back to where all this started. 9 videos left. Where do I start? Well, there is this, the complete 3rd series. It has everything from Season 3. I don't care for Season 3. I don't care for this. Okay, well, I've covered every Season 1 release in my collection, so let's move it up. Let's look at the only Season 2 release I have ever owned. Percy and the Signal and Other Stories from 1992. If Troublesome Trucks and Down the Mine were videos 1 and 2 in the collection, this was easily number 3. It's been with me since the early days. A lot of people praise Season 2, some call it the best season in the show's history. But how does it rank with me? Only one way to find out. Okay, let's start at the beginning.
Welcome to the world of children's videos.
Seen it. 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 Okay, so we have the first 8 episodes from Season 2, featuring the one and only Billy Shears. We have Thomas, Percy and Nicole, Cows, Bertie's Chase, Saved from Scrap, Old Iron, Thomas and Trevor, Percy and the Signal, and finally Duck Takes Charge. Good stuff. Good stuff. So how does Season 2 rank? It's good, but not that good. It won't beat Seasons 1 and 5 for me. I'd say it's on par with Season 6. Season 6 has better narration, but Season 2 has better stories. But that's just one fellow's opinion on preschool entertainment. But you know what Season 2 did do right? It had the ability to stimulate my childhood imagination. In this case, there was one episode in particular, Old Iron. This episode inspired me to conceive my own imaginary stories whenever I was toying around with any Thomas & Friends merchandise. Hornby, Ertl, the Wooden series, whatever it was at the time. There were several episodes that inspired this, mostly from Season 1. I can't tell you how many times I recreated Edward and Gordon and Henry, nor Percy Runs Away, or Thomas and the Trucks. You know where I'm going with this. Kids and their imaginations. You have toys from your favourite TV series, you start playing with them, and your mind starts wandering. Now why didn't I mention this in any of my Season 1 reviews? I don't know, but only upon viewing this video for the first time in a decade and a half did I realise, holy shit, I used to do this myself. So if it isn't clear at this point, my favourite episode from the video is Old Iron. As much as I'd like it to be Duck Takes Charge, Old Iron is a very clear winner for me. That episode triggered my imagination like no other episode on this release did. Now, if we're talking about international dubbing, Duck Takes Charge easily wins, specifically the German dub, of course.
Bald hörte ein ganz ungewöhnliches Geräusch. So was, sagte und eilte auf den Rangierbahnhof.
As a 25-year-old, that bit is more entertaining than it has any right to be. So, Percy and the Signal. Not the best release out there, probably not even in my top 5, but it's still an important one for me. You know, it's a shame that this was the only Season 2 release I ever owned. Episode-wise, I owned everything from Season 1. I own everything from Season 5. I own everything from Season 6. Season 2? This was all I had. I suppose when you think about it, it was the late 90s, the internet was very primitive, us kids had no concept of seasons in relation to television, there was more than likely no public source that listed every single VHS release on the market, and when we went to the video section at the local store, there were limited options. I must have completely missed the other Season 2 releases. They were probably stocked at the same time as Down the Main and Percy and the Signal, and were no doubt out of stock by the time Season 5 was the main focus in 1998 and 1999. But then again, there was one Season 2 release I watched but didn't own. In 1999, maybe 2000, I'm visiting the local children's hospital, probably for a checkup. I'm in the waiting room, waiting to be called through, there's a TV mounted on the wall, and instead of running a kids' TV channel, or maybe the news of the day, there's a Thomas and Friends video running, of all things. It's Ghost Train and Other Stories, released on the same day as Percy and the Signal. Maybe it was The Deputation, maybe it was Ghost Train, I don't know. Considering the assumed date, I'm going to place bets on Ghost Train. It amounts to the same thing in the end. I'm in the waiting room for maybe 10 minutes at most, but as soon as I spot the TV, I am hooked. Fortunately, I didn't miss much. It was currently on The Deputation, the first episode on the release. It was great. I only saw it briefly, but that video stands out as an example of how easily sucked in kids are. If it's running, the young ones will watch without any hesitation. So I'm sure some people are wondering, what do I think about the video? You're kidding, right? I saw the video once, for 10 minutes, nearly 20 years ago. I'm not reviewing something like that. This isn't like Thomas's Train, a video I saw for at least an hour in 2003. I mean, granted, this one was easier to figure out, but so what? I'm not going to review something I only saw briefly nearly 2 decades ago. Sure, I'll review Dig It, a video I have no memory of, and a stupid holiday planner. But this thing, not a chance. This one was only going to get a mention. The 6-year-old me liked it, the 25-year-old me could give 2 shits. This is why I haven't reviewed every other Thomas and Friends video, and any other children's video releases not on this list. I can't review something the kid in me didn't experience. I need to preferably own the release, and I need childhood feelings and stories to go on, that last one especially. Thomas and Gordon and Other Stories, Thomas and Friends Playtime, Time for Trouble, Rock and Roll, The Runaway, Your Favourite Story Collection. I haven't ever seen them in my life, so I can't review them. And I sure as shit am not going to invest money into buying them. This doesn't strictly apply to Thomas and Friends. You name any franchise in the world of childhood entertainment. If it's not on this list, there's a good chance I'm not covering it, with a few exceptions that may be seen over the coming months. Good God, I've got a lot to cover. We'll get there. We'll get there. Now, what could I look at next? Say, did you guys know that the Singing Kettle once ran their own newspaper?
Read all about it, stand up and shout it, learn about it, the Singing Kettle. Read all about it, stand up and shout it, learn about it, the Singing Kettle News.
Yes, this was a real thing. Before we dissect it, let's recap the Singing Kettle TV shows. We have the Singing Kettle 1, 2 and 3 from 1990 to 1992, Singing Kettle Christmas Crackers from Christmas 92, Adventures in Kettleland in 93. In 1995, they starred in the 6-episode series The Singing Kettle News, which is what we have here. Right, so a while back I called the original TV shows mediocre, with Adventures in Kettleland being the only good show. So how does Singing Kettle News rank? Let's find out. Wait. What the hell? Ugh. Okay, let's try that again. Adventures of Pinocchio, don't care. Borrowers, don't care. Barney's Great Adventure, really don't care. Polygram Video, whatever. Get on with it. One compliment I have to give the series is that it has probably the best theme song out of all the Singing Kettle TV shows. So why is it called the Singing Kettle News? Well, apparently Scylla, Artie, Gary and Jane run their own newspaper for the village of Kettle. That's original, not to mention about as random as Mario and Sonic appearing at the Olympic Games, but whatever. So they run their own newspaper, and every day is a massive struggle to come up with the perfect front page story, whilst enduring hassle from the newspaper editor known as Russell Spout. You know, like the spout of a kettle? Oh goodness, that's clever. Now, it's the Singing Kettle, so of course there's going to be song breaks during these episodes. They've got a serious career here, usually with a big time crunch, and yet they can always find time to sing a few kids' songs. Yeah, let's go with this. Thankfully for the group, interesting events always seem to happen outside their office. Events that actually inspire their front news stories. A bus breaks down, a new fitness regime, faulty traffic lights, a cake judging contest, a massive flood. Oh no, no more floods, don't remind me, don't fucking remind me! So that about sums up an episode of the Singing Kettle News. The group struggles to think up stories for the front page, something happens outside that piques their interest, they sing a song, they write a story for the front page based on whatever happens outside, a countdown begins, the team deposit their stories as well as Gary's illustrations in this giant kettle, because of course they do, they sing another song, they retrieve the complete newspaper from the aforementioned giant kettle by saying a certain rhyme, they marvel at the crap they've been able to write that day, and not a word is mentioned about them being fired for the incredibly irrelevant stories they published. Yeah, there are some silly bits here and there, but does that make the show a bad one? Yeah, probably not. As an adult that grew up with the Singing Kettle, I think it's an okay show. Not great, but it at least has a plot and tries something original. It's a weird concept, but they make it work. I still think Adventures in Kettleland was a better series, but hey, this one's original and the kids will probably enjoy it. I could end things now, but there was actually a sequel, Sing All About It, released in 1996. I won't cover this one because it's more or less the same. The only real difference is that there's only one song per episode and it's always sung at the end in front of the live audience. This series is not that good. Honestly, I think the series went a bit downhill when the audience aspect was introduced. How ironic. And actually, Sing All About It wasn't the last of it. The group returned for a third and fourth TV season, which was just called The Singing Kettle. Yeah, to keep it short, these last two seasons just flat out suck. They are bad. The charm from Singing Kettle News is all gone at this point. The whole newspaper concept has gone out the window. Now it's just the group backstage before a show where they spend 5 minutes trying to decide what song to sing during their show. That is about it. There are some shitty plot elements thrown in, but that's it. To me, the 25-year-old, it feels like the Singing Kettle fared better as a stage show. The TV shows ranged from average and mediocre to just flat out awful most of the time. They really were the best musical group aimed at children in the UK. They just couldn't make it work on TV. Right, that's enough of that. I doubt we'll be coming back to this anytime soon. Okay, what to do next? Oh yeah. Okay, let's recap my grandparents' video collection. The Aristocats, The Jungle Book, Lady and the Tramp, Postman Pat's Big Video, Children's Preschool Compilation, Sesame Street Sing Yourself Silly, Funtime Favourites, Stuart Little 2, Carrot Blanca, Men in Black 2, Back to the Future, and smack dab at the bottom of the pile is Children's Cartoon Favourites from 1988. This video sucks. It sucked when I was a kid, it sucked when I was a teenager, it still sucks as an adult. When my grandmother died in 2008, this video collection was sold off and I thought that was it. Eventually, I discovered this piece of shit in my collection in 2017, in the box for Home Alone 2. Why this video of all things? It was the worst video in the second collection. Nah, let's not write it off just yet. Well, I have, you should, you may like it. I doubt it, but you never know. Let's start at the beginning. This video was released in 1988 and features 2 episodes each from 3 cartoons, the Care Bears, the Popples and Sylvanian families. That's it. That's all we get. 6 episodes from 3 cartoons, none of which even remotely qualify as cartoon favourites. The birthday cartoon collection, this is not. That had great content throughout. This does not. When I was a kid, the only ones I even cared just a smidge about were the Care Bears and Sylvanian families if I was truly desperate. When I discovered this video in my collection, without the case, I actually had to Google what else was on the video, and my only reaction was, what the fuck are Popples? That's how badly this video holds up for me. I don't even remember these freakish things. It wasn't just then, even after seeing Sylvanian family toy adverts and expressing my sheer indifference to them, it never occurred to me that they were on this video. So that leaves only the Care Bears. Yeah, on this video, they suck too. They only have 2 episodes, only one of which is truly memorable, and it's the first thing on this video. We have to slog through an episode of the Popples and Sylvanian families to get to the next Care Bears, which is nowhere near as interesting as the first episode with the caring crystals and the evil bubbles. That is the only thing about this video that actually stuck with me after all these years. That makes this the least memorable video in my collection. It's not the worst video in my collection. I still consider Chad Valley Video to be a bigger ripoff, and I guess there may be people out there that could enjoy this thing. So I'm going to call this ironically titled video the second worst in my collection, just underneath Chad Valley and above Bugs Bunny's Easter Funnies. There is still the possibility of enjoyment, but this video has no right to be called children's cartoon favourites. Even as a kid, these were nowhere near my top 10 for cartoons, certainly nowhere high enough to be considered favourites. Who released this video anyway? Temple Video. Apparently they released the original version of High Stakes Sonic and Sonic Breakout. Alright, it was good as a kid, I suppose it's fine these days. The cartoon still isn't that great, but I'm fine with this one. They also released several videos for Postman Pat, Fun Song Factory and Spot the Dog. Yeah, they can release what they want for Postman Pat, but it won't top Postman Pat's Big Video. Not in a million years. Now to talk about Fun Song Factory. Yeah, despite my collection of Singing Kettle, I did have some Fun Song Factory videos. And guess what? They suck too. I probably enjoyed them as a kid, but when I recently went back to party time at the Fun Song Factory, I found the opening painfully cringeworthy. As a 25-year-old, I found it to be very condescending and rather patronising. Maybe it's just me, it probably wasn't the original intent of the creators, but Jesus, I never had these feelings with Singing Kettle. That franchise has aged so much better in my eyes. Despite my feelings towards the Singing Kettle TV shows, they win over Fun Song Factory 100% of the time. And then, there's Spot the Dog.
Spot, Spot, a lovable Spot. He's soft and cuddly and he smiles a lot. If there ever was a pup to cheer you up, it's Spot, Spot, the Spot.
You know what? We can end on a positive note. I think Spot the Dog is really good. Seriously, I do. I went back to watch that too, and the childhood charm is still there. The show is short, incredibly simple, and I couldn't help but love it. It's like the Magic Roundabout, except more charming. Spot wasn't all great, I think Spot's Magical Christmas kinda sucks, but if you need something to amuse the kids, and we're looking at the short 5-minute episodes from The Adventures of Spot, I don't think you can go wrong with them. Yay, a positive ending. Spot the dog is great and fuck everything else. It just goes to show that the early years weren't all perfect and great. The early years? Wait. In episode 35, I covered the original adventures of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, a 2-video box set of the complete first season of Thomas and Friends. I praised it to no end, and logically, that would have been it for season 1 coverage. But wouldn't you know it, there's something else I'd like to cover. The early years from 2004. A 3-disc DVD set also featuring the complete first season. It has virtually the same content as original adventures, so why am I covering this? Well, as it turns out, I actually have some stories to cover. I don't actually know where my copy is, so we'll just have to bullshit our way through this as best we can. First, let's try and work out when I bought it. This will definitely not take as long as Thomas's Train, I assure you. It's a Region 1 release, so it had to have been an American purchase. I've been to America 4 times in the past 20 years, 2003 and 2008 to Canada, and 2005 and 2009 to New York. It was released in 2004 and I had no knowledge of it until at least 2006, so that rules out 03 and 05. It could be either New York or Canada, but I remember for a fact that the last time I bought a Thomas and Friends release prior to Video Memories was in October 2008 when I bought The Great Discovery. That leaves only early 2008, making this a Canadian purchase. You know what that means.
Turn and face the strange changes.
Yeah. This is the last time I'll be covering an American release, so that's the last time I'll be doing that. Right, so as I said, I first became aware of it in 2006. It involves primitive YouTube. A user no longer on YouTube, as far as I'm aware, uploaded very jumpy versions of the episodes. It all looked normal to me, good old-fashioned content. I was aware of Shining Time Station at this point, so I did find it weird that an American user was posting British versions of the episodes. That was a very whatever point, but my curiosity was tested when I watched Thomas and the Trucks, and something felt a bit odd about what I was seeing. The footage looked rather different than what I had grown up with. Maybe it was just a one-time occurrence, maybe the DVD is faulty for all I know. But then I watched Cole.
All he could do was to go slowly onto a siding, and Edward took charge of the train. The Fat Controller and Fireman went on discussing Henry's troubles. "What do you think is wrong, Fireman?" asked the Fat Controller.
Wait. What the fuck happened there? That I most definitely did not grow up with. A year later, as we know, I made that trek to Canada, and as we know, I bought a massive amount of DVDs that I didn't need. One of them evidently was the early years. Now we can talk about it. DVDs 1 and 2 contain the entire first season, all 26 episodes, in the exact same set list as original adventures. Episodes 1 through 13 are on disc 1, and episodes 14 through 26 are on disc 2. The big difference between early years and original adventures is how the episodes are visually presented. The footage on early years has been fully restored and looks a lot cleaner and fresher than on original adventures. I know very little about film restoration, so I won't go into details. What I can talk about are the weird oddities in the episodes. So with the 26 episodes, visually they look great. With early years, season 1 has never looked better, but there are some odd edits here and there. In a fair few episodes, you can see studio equipment. In the first 2 episodes, we see close-ups of Gordon where he isn't hauling his passenger or freight trains. The Flying Kipper has seriously cropped footage, quite possibly to hide film deterioration. The most notable differences are Thomas and the Trucks and Cole, where completely different clips are used in certain scenes. It's pretty obvious that the episodes were recut, which makes me wonder, why did certain scenes use alternate film takes? Minor content like 2-second takes of a non-speaking character or an engine's whistle is one thing, but I'm talking about those big edits. If it was intentional, it's an odd choice. If it was unintentional, it's pretty shoddy work. Both options make very little sense to me. Either the producers requested alternate footage to allow fans to see different content to what they own on VHS, or the editors didn't double check what footage they were using compared to what was in the original release and just threw in whatever they had available, hence that what the fuck moment involving Henry. I lean towards option B because not only does intentional make even less sense when I think about it, but I suspect the editors may have been under a time crunch. The box set was released on October 26, 2004, just over 2 weeks after the 20th anniversary of the very first airing of Thomas and Gordon. That can't be a coincidence in my eyes. They planned for this DVD to come out for the 20th anniversary, and they wanted the footage to look the absolute best. They sent the editors rolls and rolls of footage for all 26 episodes and asked them to recut it all, no doubt with a very strict deadline, and what we get is a slight rush job. Of course, this is all speculation, and honestly I've not really heard any complaints, which at this point is a rarity for the Thomas and Friends franchise. It's a rarity for a good few franchises actually. Although to be fair, it was 4 years after Magic Railroad and 4 years before the CGI switch, so it may have just been a lull period. If you don't like these weird edits, there are other options. That brings us to disc 3, where we actually have some bonus features. We have a disappointing audio commentary from Sir Topham Hatt, voiced by Robin Smith. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but his voice is no Keith Wickham or Michael You-Know-Who. It's hardly an audio commentary, it's just a crappy retelling of Thomas and Gordon. No one that worked on season 1 ever appears in the commentary. We also have a read-along story for those who can't be bothered holding a book. We have Build an Engine, where we build an engine. Nothing special. We have a game called Who Am I? No doubt a way to torture someone who has no idea about any of the characters. And then we have Sodor Memories, where each of the 6 characters relive memories from a long time ago, all conveniently taking place in 1984. Right, now we need to talk about Robin Smith. He provides the voice for every character in Sodor Memories, as well as Sir Topham Hatt in the audio commentary. He also voiced every character in the US release of every Thomas and Friends video game released between 1999 and 2008. How do I put this gently? Robin Smith sucks as a narrator. For years now, I've had this belief that Alec Baldwin, while a fantastic actor, was the worst English Thomas and Friends narrator. I actually want to take that back. I absolutely hate Robin Smith's narration. It is incredibly dull and uninteresting and downright painful at times. His performance as Percy in Thomas Saves the Day should be enough evidence for that last point. He is the worst English narrator the series has ever had. Christ, even at times, Stefan Noth is a more bearable narrator. So that's the early years. 2 discs of great looking episodes and a 3rd disc of shitty bonus features. It'll amuse the kids, that's a given. For a grown adult like myself, pass. I'd still rather watch Original Adventures. I have nostalgic love for that release, and I can live without the restored footage. Granted, I don't watch either of the releases these days, but if I had to pick one, Original Adventures wins easily. Right, there's another Thomas and Friends release I'd like to take a look at, but before I can, I need to set the story up with a series I never thought I'd have to cover.